Oh, hi everyone. Welcome to Adobe Live. Something weird's going on with my headphones. There we go. That's all right. We're good. Welcome to Adobe Live. My name's Flynn. I've done this before. We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we're streaming to you from today, and pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We're here with the fantastic Sophie Elinor. Hey, Sophie. How are you doing?
I'm good, Flynn. How are you?
I'm good. It's funny. Just before we went live, I was talking about how, like, in my head, I have to kind of work out, like, where's the music coming from? What's happening over here and all that sort of stuff, pretending like I knew what I was doing. But yeah, I had some extra sounds looping in my brain.
Oh, no.
Hello to everybody in chat. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Joanna. It's great to see you here. If you're watching anywhere other than Behance, head over to behance.net/live if you want to say hello. It's always great to hear from you, see how you're doing. Sophie and I are cold. We were just chatting before. It's a cold day.
I think we've come up with a great idea, which is shoulder pads that are also heat packs. Right. We can patent this offline, I think, but that might be our ticket to success.
Yeah, this is it. Entrepreneurs, and it started here on Adobe Live.
Yeah. And if anyone else steals it before we get a chance to do it, we have evidence that we came up with it first.
Yeah, patent pending. But other than being very clever entrepreneurs, we're going to be spending some time chatting about some animation. So this is part two of a two-part series for now, but we're gonna return to it in a couple of weeks as well. Of following a live brief that I have written, which we tore apart a little bit on Tuesday, and Sophie's very bravely doing for us live. And so I'll probably let Sophie kind of take it from there, because we'll do a little bit of a recap of what we did on Tuesday, so don't worry if you missed out. And then we're going to jump into After Effects very soon. So we'll jump over to your screen now, Sophie.
Beautiful.
And we are there. Cool. So this is like, what would you call this? Is this like a mood board? Mood board probably doesn't give it enough justice.
I mean, it is a mood board, but it's like the messiest mood board you've ever seen. It's just a place where I dump everything in my brain, everything in the brief, and see if anything makes sense in the first instance. Right. So this was the email example you gave me. These were some screenshots that I grabbed from the little title animation. The other examples you gave me, I had a little crack at a color palette up here, and then just a few quick sort of, I suppose, visual explorations of ideas that I had that I was just testing to see whether or not I thought they might work. So I'm just kind of chucked everything in together, and that's our starting point. So from there, I have done a tiny little bit of extra work since we left off on Tuesday. Based off, I think it was Johanna's suggestion of having some flash kind of going off.
That's right. Yeah, we had some great suggestions from chat yesterday.
Yeah. And I was like, that's an awesome idea. Why don't we just add a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of seasoning, a bit of sparkle, just to kind of make it a bit more interesting. So that's what I've done there. So we did start in After Effects. This is about as far as we got on Tuesday. So the concept for this one was we're trying to make the word photography look in some way photographic, and the sort of concept we were going with was pulling focus. So we're imagining that almost we're looking through a lens, I suppose, and we're adjusting the focus, and we're kind of shifting the depth a little bit, and that's the sort of effect we're going for. So I had applied a camera lens blur to all of our individual letters, which is how we got here. And the effect is working pretty well, but the thing is, it's all happening at once. So at the moment, not very interesting, just a bit flat, a bit, it's fine, but we can do better. So the first thing I think I might do is, you can see how, actually I might pull this up a bit so we've got a bit more room, because we don't actually need to see all that empty space around our type. On the letter P here, as well as the camera lens blur, I've also applied a few keyframes to our scale property,
right?
Which was that sort of zoom effect we were talking about, how like when it's coming a little bit closer, that's when it's sharpening, and then it's just sort of overshooting and then pulling back a bit.
Right.
So what I want to do is copy those keyframes and then paste them onto all of our other layers here.
Cool. So you've just applied it to the P for now, but you can just grab what you've done and then apply it to all of the other letters.
Yeah, really efficient when you like highlight it, and because it's such a long word, we've got a lot of letters here. We could do it one at a time, but we can be a bit faster about it if we do that.
Nice.
So now we've got that blur and scale effect applied to everything.
Nice.
So that's looking pretty good. But again, we don't really want that all happening at once. I just feel like it's just always more interesting to have a bit of a sort of cascade effect. So I'm just going to really quickly, so I've just highlighted all of our keyframes from the H onwards. We're just going to leave the P where it is. And I might just nudge it maybe 2 keyframes.
What's the shortcut to nudge it there? Is that like command and...
That's a great question. I'm using my mouse.
Oh, you're using your mouse. I thought you
am eyeballing it.
Yeah.
No,
I thought you used like a shortcut there. That's cool.
If someone has a shortcut, I would love to know what it is, because I do this all the time. There's probably a script. Actually, I know there's a script that will do this a lot faster, but we're just keeping it manual here today. We're driving stick, and that's fine.
So I noticed just then that you selected all of them, right? And then you went down and then deselected after you moved across, so you don't have to move everything all the way further each time. That's cool. That's good to know. Yeah,
that's my fast way of doing it. And so now we've got this really lovely little sort of flow effect happening, which is just, I don't know, that feels much more satisfying to me to see it
yeah, that's cool.
Animate in that way. I'll probably shorten this a little too. I don't think we're going to need a full 5 seconds, so let's just bring that down. Maybe 3 seems like plenty. Okay, so we're starting blurry, we're shifting our focus, we're zooming a little, we've got our camera settings just right, and I think here, once the whole word has come into focus, is probably when we want to start adding our little flash sparkle seasoning kind of thing. Seasoning. So I've brought these in. I don't know, whatever we want to call them. So I've brought these in as separate layers, and maybe we'll start with these guys. So these are the sort of ray burst, sunburst, whatever you what should we call them? Lines.
Chat, let us know. It's almost like a card, almost like a comic, like almost comic style, like illustration of light or something.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add trim paths to each of these layers. And this is one of my absolute favorite things to do in After Effects. It's like the first thing that I learned to do in this software. If you've never used it before, like really recommend this as a lovely little entry point because it's really versatile. Any sort of line work you can apply this effect to. So if we just, maybe let's zoom in a little, not that far, we're just going to focus on this little burst in the top left-hand corner. And so I'm just focusing on this line to begin with, and I want it to start at 0. We want there to be nothing on screen in the first instance.
Right.
And then we want it to kind of do this, animate on, and we probably actually, I don't think we necessarily need the complete line to be on screen at once. So by that I mean what we could either have it animate on, it's on 100% for a bit, and then it animates off. But I think it's going to be a bit more exciting and a bit more like a flash if we just kind of do it this way. Now that's going way too fast. Let's slow that down a little. Maybe we want it slightly longer.
Started with a hard one because it's so little.
I know, it's so tiny. All right, well, you can always come back and adjust. And honestly, this is kind of where you spend like maybe 80% of your time in After Effects. It's like, is the timing of this right? I don't know.
Is this the graph editor or is this the speed editor that you're in?
This is the graph editor.
Graph, yep.
Yeah. So we're just kind of smoothing that animation out a little. So that's looking pretty good. And again, because I've already set up the trim paths on each of these layers, now I can just go and copy my keyframes and paste them here. We are going to have to adjust though, because the second line I'm applying it to is much longer. And so it's going to go way too fast. So we probably want to drag this out a little bit longer.
Right. So because the line's longer, it's going to take more time.
It needs more time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
got some suggestions for the lines: squidgery doodads and sparkies.
I love that. Squidgery doodads. How many dollary dues do we need to pay that person for that suggestion? That's great.
I feel like After Effects, out of all the apps we play around with on Adobe Live, like After Effects is the one where everyone just makes up their own names for things. Like with everything else, it's like, what's the technical term for this icon? And people apologize when they don't know the term. But whereas like in After Effects, everyone's like, yeah, just grab the little squiggly thing or the little guide that hides and things like that.
Pass me that doodad over there.
Yeah.
That's so great. It's a choose your own adventure. That's really lovely.
Right.
I like that a lot. Cool. So we're nearly done with our little squidgery doodads over here. And I think see, we've barely done any work at all, and already we've now got this really like dynamic little corner going on.
Yeah.
I think as well what I want to do here is not a great deal, but just maybe one frame, just give it one frame space between each of these. Just so we're kind of a bit like a firework, it's sort of setting off.
Right.
Cute. All right, let's zoom out a little and see what we've done. Love it.
Looks cool.
And actually, we can probably fire this off a little bit earlier because I reckon we probably want it to start it can actually, we can probably set this, the top left-hand corner one going a bit earlier. Because
so that's the thing. Is it going to
the word is?
Yeah, is it going to follow the wave of focus, or is it all going to go at the same time?
Yeah, I think following the wave of focus makes sense because that's kind of where our eye is being drawn. So we should maybe lean into that and emphasize that a bit. So why don't we set it off like, why don't we come all the way back here and see what that looks like? Yeah, that's the good stuff because it's sort of the letter P is just settling back into focus and we're like, boom.
Yeah,
we've got it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like you make your own laws as you're going through. It's like you make your own rules. Like, cool. So when this happens, this behaves in this way.
Yep. And sometimes you don't know until you look at it, right? Like sometimes you've got to just, the wand chooses the wizard, you know, like you've got to, you just got to be open to where the animation is going to take you.
A sick Harry Potter reference. I like it.
I'm such an aging millennial. So embarrassing. So now I'm just going to copy those same keyframes and just kind of tinker with those a smidge on our bottom right. What do we call them? Squidgery doos? No.
Squidgery doodads.
Squidgery doodads.
Doodad is such a like underrated term for something.
Doodad. It's fun to say.
It's funny how some of that terminology like was like, I feel like, you know,
it feels old-timey to me.
Feels old-timey, right? But then a lot of those things, like those people like grew up and then created things on the internet. It's like we actually have widgets now. Like, you know, a lot of that terminology, you know, like a widget will be like a term for something that you don't really know what it is. It's just a widget or a doodad or something. But then
a widget totally sounds like the cousin of a doodad, right? Right.
Yeah.
They're absolutely related. So silly. I love it. Okay. And then we'll just again offset each of these guys. Just one frame. And when you play it, you almost don't even notice it. But if I scrub really slowly, you can see that it's sort of firing one then the other.
Mm. And as one stops, the other one kind of picks up.
Yeah.
Definitely find that with After Effects, that it is a lot of like very subtle kind of work that, you know, as a, I mean, what did you cut this down to, like 3 seconds at this point? Like it's a lot of thinking, like very like kind of no one's going to notice this, but actually it's like hundreds of decisions made to like make those 3 seconds really, really work.
Hundreds of decisions, probably like dozens of hours, and you get to the end and you say to the world, look at these 3 seconds that I made for you. And they're like, oh yeah, scroll, keep going. Cool. Neat, whatever, what's next? Okay, so now we've got, I feel like that's kind of firing where it needs to. And now we need to deal with our little star situation. So I think initially I was kind of picturing that maybe the stars would flash once the full word was finished. But I think what you said about following the direction that the word is traveling in is going to be more effective.
Yeah, that's a good point I made. Yeah.
It was yeah, who said that again? Some really smart guy. We should listen to him more. So what I want, my wish for the stars is that they begin 0. So we're not going to see them at all. They're going to just sort of, we're going to animate the scale property. So why don't, instead of me trying to come up with a metaphor, how about I just do it? And So we're starting at 0. Let's zip on up to 100. Oh no, where is our star gone? What has happened?
Zipped it out of existence permanently.
Yeah, what just happened there? Let's try that again. 0. Whew, I don't know what happened before.
There they are.
Crisis averted. So I think rather than just have it go 0, 100, and then back to 0, it might be nice for it to do a little bit of a sparkle. So I'm going to emulate that movement by just playing with the scale property, nothing else. We're not doing anything fancy here. So maybe let's have it go from 0 to, let's say, 110, and then back down to, I don't know, maybe 80, back up to 100. Then we can zip back down to 0. Okay, that happened way too fast. We're getting seizures from how quickly that happened. Let's give these keyframes a bit more breathing space. Okay, still maybe a little fast. But you kind of get a sense of how just literally just adding a few more scale keyframes in there kind of gives it that bit of extra bounce and that bit of extra sparkle. So we've now got a twinkling star as opposed to just an object that's zooming in and zooming out.
Right.
And again, nobody likes a keyframe that doesn't have ease on it. Just so much smoother. Happy days. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good. And I'm just going to shortcut this because we can.
So you're opening up all of the transform properties for all of the stars?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Just so I can see them when I've placed the keyframes, just so I know that what I'm doing is actually working.
So if you don't open them, they'll still paste, but you won't actually see them paste. So
yeah. Well, you kind of get these little circles, so you know that something has happened. But I like to, I don't know. Also, I know that I'm immediately going to move these around, so it's
right.
I just have to do that anyway.
Nice.
So now we've got all this twinkling action going on, but we want it to follow the words. So let's just kind of push these way over for a second and just tackle one star at a time. So I think what I want to happen is I don't want the star to appear until the letter is completely sharpened and at 100%. So that would be around about here for the first letter. So we're just gonna chuck that there and let's see what that looks like. Actually, because we're starting at 0, we can probably, there's a bit of like a lag time going on there. So we
be visual until the second.
Yeah. And because it's all happening really quickly, we've only got 3 seconds.
Going to check in with chat. Hey to Mode of the Void, great to see you here. And we have a question from Johanna. Just we're sharing some thoughts around the short attention span that we're talking about, like 3 seconds scroll. And then to chat about like some of the other work you do, because you also do like more tactile work. I think between last time you were on, you did like a physical show with these like giant letters and things like that. I know it's a bit of a detour to what we're talking about right this second, but could you tell us a little bit about that?
So that was a group show that I did with some very creative friends of mine at Maitland Art Gallery. It just came down at the start of the week. It was up for 3 months and it was called Commercial Artists Go Rogue.
Right.
And it was the brainchild of my incredibly talented friend Claire Hodgins, who works at the gallery as a designer and does amazing work there. But she basically invited a few of her friends and contacts who work as graphic designers or photographers or illustrators in a commercial sense, and kind of just said, here's an art gallery, do what you want,
right,
and not what a client has asked you to do. And oh my gosh, it was so much fun. The other parameter she gave us was just because we can't be without a brief entirely, was we were each given a day of the week to sort of build our concept on.
Right.
And so Mel So, who got Monday, did this incredible mural that was an ode, like almost a religious kind of ethereal golden calligraphic.
I was going to say Monday's like the hardest one. I'd be like, yeah, give me Saturday. Like that's great. Monday's just Helvetica.
Yeah, she did this. You should look it up because it's just phenomenal what she did.
We have a link to it in chat. I have checked it out before, but check it out,
beautiful.
guys, if you're interested in checking it out as well. There's a link by Johanna in the chat.
But yeah, I got Friday, and so Friday for me is playtime, and I'm like, Friday is the day to just muck about, do something silly for no real purpose, just to like learn or to, I don't know, just do something dumb that's fun, you know? And so I created these meter tall, 3.5 meter long letters out of cardboard that my dad dumpster dived from various skip bins around.
Oh wow, it's like a full family.
I needed. It was, yeah. Dad was helping, mum was helping.
Nice.
Yeah, it was so much fun, so much work. But they kind of, so these enormous big letters, insanely, ridiculously, offensively colorful.
Offensively colorful. I don't think I've heard that.
I just covered them in like felt fringing and tinsel and rhinestones and pom-poms and all the things that my high school art teacher said I was never allowed to use because serious artists don't use those kind of things.
Take that, art teacher.
Yeah. Look at me now. And yeah, it was so much fun. But yeah, nothing at all like this, which I think was probably why I love doing it so much too, is just to have a break every now and then from the screen and do something that's really tactile and labor intensive.
Right.
I don't know. I'm very much a sucker for punishment in terms of like, if something's going to be hugely laborious and take a million years to do, that's my jam. Like, let's do it. Which is probably why I like animation so much too. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
But that being said, so we've got our little sparkles. They're firing. Oh, hang on. We've missed one here. Okay, this guy needs to come back a bit.
He's getting a bit ahead of himself.
He's dragging the chain.
Cool.
So we've now got pretty fun little, actually I think these guys might need to come a little bit earlier, but you can see the kind of little narrative that we've constructed here, and our little elements, they're not cluttering it. I think they're just adding a little bit of extra interest, a bit of extra, it's something that's going to catch your eye.
Yeah. They're not like overstaying their welcome. They're just here.
Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it looks really cool.
See that sitting in an email header? Obviously it's not looping. We need to return our nicely sharpened letters to their original blurry state so that we've got a nice little loop. But I think overall, I feel like that says photography pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. For sure. So how would you close the loop? Is it a matter of like copying the keyframes from the beginning?
Yeah.
Or yep.
Exactly that.
Okay.
So if we go back to the letter P, way down. No, I've gone too far. Where are we? This is the other thing that happens when you get a little bit too deep into After Effects. You're all of a sudden buried in 1,000 layers of like, oh no, where is it? Where did it go? So yeah, literally what I would do is I would just grab our last 2 keyframes here for the blur and the scale property. We probably want it to stay in focus for a few frames. So if I paste those there, and then I'm going to grab our first 2 keyframes and just drop it back there, and maybe give that a bit more space. Oops.
And let us know, chat, as well, if you have any questions as we're going along.
So yeah, I mean, I can, well, why don't we do that? Why don't I just quickly just go and grab all of these, and then we can see what it's going to look like.
So you just like need to hold down Shift as you're doing this? Is that what it is?
No, I'm just dragging. I'm just dragging with the mouse.
Right.
And then copy and pasting, because I'm not moving my playhead, so it's just dropping them all in exactly the same spot.
Okay. So when you're pasting, it pastes on the playhead.
It pastes exactly where the playhead is, yeah. And then I'll move my playhead to the end and then copy our first frames. And just cycle through. And we might offset these a little bit as well, just because why not? Because that seems to be, but we might do it a little bit quicker than, you know, we want this final return to the original frame to be quite quick. So we might just do 1 frame.
So I have a question from chat from Moat. Any thoughts about looping back and forth? Do you mean like going forward
like a boomerang?
And then like backward again? That's interesting.
I prefer to, we kind of talked about this before, I think. I prefer to go back a different way to the way that I came.
Right. Is there an instance where you would do back and forth, or that you have?
I'm sure I've probably done it in the past. I think if the, I mean, you've got to think about what you're animating too, right? Like if it's a, I don't know, a ping pong ball or something, then it would make sense that it's going in this,
right?
You know, that it's returning exactly the way that it came, because that's how the physics of it would work. So I think if it logically or narratively makes sense to do it that way, then yeah. But as a shortcut, as I said, I would much rather take the long way around, spend 15 more hours. We'll take the scenic route, you know.
Why do it the short way if there's a long, complicated, difficult way to do it?
Exactly. So now we're looping pretty happily, I reckon. We might want to maybe give it a bit more time in here so that we've got a clear sort of blank photography sitting there. But I mean, that's maybe something we can tinker with a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, really the only thing we've done here is we've done trim paths, we've done the camera lens blur effect, and we've adjusted the scale. And that's nothing fancy. That's just, you know, that's just some pretty basic kind of tools. And yet we have this lovely little dancing photography.
It's really cool.
Animation going on now. Shall we get stuck into motion? Because I'm pretty excited about this one.
Okay, for sure. I just have one question around this, because we showed the color palette before, and when you started this file, you were like, the colors don't matter. The colors don't matter right now. I'm not thinking about them. And you don't have to do it now or anything like that. We can move straight onto motion, so we have time for that. But at what point do you start thinking about color, I guess, and updating the color? Or
probably I would probably do it at this point.
Right.
So I mean, the other nifty thing is, because we've got a really flat color palette at the moment, like if I wanted to just go and you know, change the colors of our photography lettering, then I can ooh, what is going on there? Oh, no. I'm getting a weird little error message popping up, and I can't see where the window is. Oh, there we are. It's a dual monitor thing.
Oh yeah, it does that sometimes. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, you want this to be over here, right?
It's hiding behind our chat on this screen, and I'm like, why can't I see it? This has never happened to me before. So I just highlighted all those layers, and if I click on fill, I can universally change them. So I can, you know, I can play around with them while I'm in here, or I can like grab the code from my Illustrator file and just paste it directly in, and that's going to change everything all at once.
Yeah.
Or if I wanted to change the background color, you know, same sort of thing. I can do that there.
Cool.
I think I was kind of thinking about this over the last couple of nights and thinking, I almost feel as if the letters themselves should maybe remain white, and we should play with the background color to be the thing that brings color to it, because there's quite a lot going on with the animation itself.
Yeah.
But I don't know, we could just, you know, we could pull from our little color palette here. We could make each letter a different color. We could go to, like, I'm also not averse to going to town with a color palette. Obscene color. Oh yeah, offensively colorful. Yeah. That's, you know, that's definitely in my wheelhouse. I guess I'm kind of thinking more in the final context of where it's going to live, which is in this sort of email space.
Yeah.
So we're going to want, you know, it while it needs to be attention seeking, it also can't be like a diva about it. You know, it has to work with the other players in the email.
It's got to be cool.
Yeah.
It's popular, but it doesn't want to be popular.
It's part of a team, you know, it's a team sport.
Cool.
So just really quickly.
Motion. I'll let you know we have a little bit under 20 minutes left.
Okay. All right. We'll pick a few interesting letters to animate then, because we're probably not going to get through the whole thing. But I basically just set this file up in the same way that I did our photography one. I have stretched the letters a little bit, and I have adjusted our stroke weight accordingly, because we don't want uneven stroke weights. The type designer would be very unhappy with us about that. And off the back of these kind of squidgery doodads.
Squiggly doodads?
Squiggly doodads. I thought that might be a nice thing to kind of carry through some of our other pieces of lettering as well. Like maybe that could be a little through line that we have. And I just think it will work really well for this one, because we could, you know, emphasize that movement in an almost sort of cartoony kind of way.
Yeah, cool.
So let's open this up and have a look.
For those just joining us, this is part of like a family, like a series of gifts. So we're focusing on 2 at the moment. We'll come back and do the other 2 later, but it's motion photography, illustration, and graphic design. So when Sophie means like a relationship, talking about like, do they have a relationship with each other, even though the animation is going to be a little bit different? So do they share a color palette? But it's a nice little visual style that carries across.
It's something that's gonna tie it together and make it feel related. And yeah.
Cool.
So I have got all these little motion lines in there, but I'm just going to turn them all off for now because that's going to be the sprinkles on top. We're just going to focus on the actual cake at the moment. So what I had thought with this one is it would be really nice for each of the different letters to move in a different way. So I was thinking maybe the M could kind of scale up and down a little. The first O could maybe have like a bit of a ripple effect. The T might do a bit of a dance like this. We're going to revisit our old friend, the puppet tool, with the letter I, because I just can't get enough of the puppet tool. And I think it just works really well for that kind of simplified shape too.
Yeah.
I thought maybe this O might do a bit of he might do a little bit of a jump. And then the N we're going to make spin. So actually, why don't we start with the N, because that's a bit of a fun, interesting thing.
All right.
So there's a couple ways we could do this. I could literally just do this. You can see that I'm like, I'm adjusting the scale, but only on the y-axis. Is that what I'm changing? Yeah. But you can see that when I do that, it's distorting the letter horribly. Right. We're getting really skinny. It's also not really selling it. Like, I don't know, it's just a bit awkward. But there is a really nifty little trick in After Effects where you can convert a 2D layer to 3D. So it's this, I don't know if you can see this tiny little cube icon up here. If you hover over it, it tells us it's a 3D layer. And so if I go down to my N layer and just switch that on, you can see that all of a sudden I've now got a bunch of other transform properties here. Like I now have a whole other axis to play with. And yeah, you could do it by eye. But,
oh, wow. Everything went.
Yeah.
Crazy. After Effects is like, you're on your own if you turn this button on, right?
Yeah. I'm out. I want it to do a little spin and return to the starting position. So I'm gonna first of all just drop a keyframe where I've done nothing so that I can return to this position.
Right.
That's something that I learned the hard way, that if you forget to do it, it's a real pain in the butt to try and reverse engineer your way back to your starting point. Always good to drop a clean keyframe at the start. And then, yeah, it's the y-axis we want to play with. So I think in the first instance, again, we want a bit of anticipation and then we want it to happen. So we're just going to go, no, the other direction. We want to go back a little bit. Maybe that's too far. Like 20 degrees. Oh, wait. Oh no, I dropped my clean keyframe on the wrong axis. Do as I say, not as I do, children.
It's a good thing you discovered that so quickly. It would have been great if we got like all the way to the end. You're like, no.
Oh, that would have been so upsetting. Okay, so we want negative there. So we're just going to tilt this way a little bit, and then I want it to do a full spin to come back to the starting point. So if I do one full revolution, no, we want 360. So one full revolution and we're now back to our starting point.
Right.
And that's going a million miles too quickly.
Speaking of going so quickly, we've only got 10 minutes left. Wow.
Oh my goodness. Actually, and we probably want to overshoot this a little bit as well. So we want it to maybe go, maybe a little bit too far and then kind of settle back down again.
And that's something that I've noticed you include in quite a lot of the animation. So it wasn't in the line, I don't think, because it faded out, but with the letters, you overshot and then kind of came back just by 10% or so, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Is that kind of an animation, like bit of a rule or a bit of a thing to do?
I don't know if it's necessarily a rule, but it's just something that I just think things look better when you do it that way, because nothing in the real world starts and stops. There's always a bit of anticipation and there's always a bit of like settling kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even though what we're doing is not necessarily like a real world thing, I think it just feels less uncanny valley if we're sort of kind of, I don't know, just giving a bit of a nod to that physics and that sort of movement.
Makes sense.
The other thing that I want to do here, because we get to this point and we've got almost nothing showing, because while it is treating it like a 3D object, it only has one face.
Right.
We can extrude it a little, so we can kind of go to town on that.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I just want a little bit so that we're not getting complete flatness when we do our little spin.
Wow, that's cool. I did not know you could do that.
Yeah. And then I just added some ease there too, but and so now look at him go. It's like doing a little twirl.
Doing a little twirl. So excited just to be here.
Okay, we have 10 minutes. Should we? Okay, I can probably do another letter. Are we more interested in, do you think, like the puppet or
I think you should show puppet because it's because that's what you wanted. That's the answer you want.
that's what I always want to do. Okay. Thank you for enabling me.
Yes. That's why I'm here.
So, puppet tool, this little guy up here, just a dreamboat of a tool. We're sticking pins in him like he's a little pin cushion. And when we twirl into our effects, we've now got our little puppet effect applied. And if we scroll down, we can see where our pins have been placed. So you have to dig you kind of have to dig half a mile to get to the keyframes, but that's where our keyframes are.
It's worth it. Yeah.
We have our clean keyframes at 0. Those are definitely there. They are on the right layers.
Yeah.
Everybody can see we're on the same page. So now, still with this tool selected, we can just grab. I'm not going to touch the bottom one because I kind of want it to stay roughly where it should be. But we can do a little wriggle.
Little jig.
And I just love it. Woo! Look at him go. Okay, so that's probably happening a bit quickly. We can slow this down a little. And actually, let's give him a slightly longer dance.
I know we spoke about this last time, but I can't help but look at it and not think of wacky waving arm inflatable tube man. Every time. They have such a soft spot in my heart. Wacky inflatable arm tube men. Can I tell you, I'm actually, not as we speak, but I'm currently painting a mural on my bathroom door of wacky inflatable arm tube men. Amazing.
it just felt like a thing that had to be done. So
of course, you need to have a mural of wacky waving inflatable tube man on your door in your house.
Yep. And the thing is, I'm painting it on a cavity slider door. So it's actually like a secret mural. So when the door is open, it just sort of disappears into the wall. And then when you open it, it's surprise, wacky inflatable tube man. That's the plan anyway.
Amazing. Yeah. No house is complete without one.
This is what I keep saying. So the other thing that we can do here, now we've got, see, all our keyframes are kind of nice and in line, which is one type of movement, which is pretty fun. But we can also, we can offset these keyframes and get a slightly different movement.
Oh, it's kind of,
now it's more like a wriggling snake.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is also kind of fun, because that's the movement. I mean, that's maybe more how a thing with a heartbeat might move, is that you would sort of do one thing and the rest of your body would follow, you know? Sweet. All right. Maybe we have to, how are we going for time? Can I
3 minutes
squeeze
left.
Another 3 minutes? All right. What can we do in 3 minutes?
Johanna wants to see the mural when it's done, by the way. So maybe if it's done by the next stream, you can...
I'll take you on a little tour.
Yeah.
Real quickly, why don't we grab our little ripple effect? Because maybe we can smash this out nice and quick.
3 minute animation would be impressive.
Ooh. I mean, it's gonna require some tinkering, definitely. But, and this is also, these effects that I've just applied are a little bit render hungry, so they're kind of requiring a little bit of time to render. But we can, so this is, sorry, I didn't talk through what I did. I just grabbed the ripple effect, which is a preset, dragged it onto the O layer, and you can see we've got all sorts of different things to play with here that we can play with, like the height of the wave, the speed of the wave. We can move where the center of the wave is, and get some really interesting effects, which when it's applied to just one letter, when other letters are doing other things, I think is a really interesting effect too.
Yeah. They're not all as crazy as the end. The end's like having a great time.
The end's just on another planet, isn't it? It's like, it's wearing like flares and roller skates, and it's at a disco. Yeah. And it's like, hey.
See it as like that person at the party that has like the lampshade on their head kind of thing. They're just like a little bit, a little bit further through their night than everybody else.
The N is the letter where everyone else is like, I should have a drink of water, maybe.
Yeah.
So we maybe need to give some of these other letters a bit more movement to balance the N out, but you can kind of already see that, you know, we've got a few different movements going on here that once we add our sort of speed lines, I think it's really going to come to life and it's going to be a fun one, this one.
This is awesome. And we'll need to pick that up next time. So next time on Adobe Live. So we're going to have a break next week. So next week we're going to be back with Bill Hope. And actually what we're doing, and something that you can get involved in, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to be, well, Bill, I'll be talking. Bill's going to be illustrating pets. So Bill Hope has a new dog, and we want to work that into the live stream. So he's going to start with that. But if you have a photo of your pet that you would like illustrated, you can submit
it to us. Let the dog host.
You can submit it through our Discord, and we'll also see if we can grab some on the day. So yeah, jump into the Discord if you want to have your pet illustrated. We'd love to see it in there. So jump in there and check that out. And then the week after that, we'll be back with Sophie. So we're going to pick up here where we left off. We might get to one of the other animated GIFs as well. And who knows, Sophie may do nothing and we'll literally pick up that file, and that's totally cool. Or who knows, you might do some other stuff between now and then.
Tune in then to see if I do nothing in the meantime.
So thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much for hanging out. It's always a blast hanging out with you.
It's been so much fun. Thank you.
Have a great time, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And chat, we'll see you next week with Bill Hope. Have a great day.
Bye.